I'm here to save you money because contrary to what tint retailers might tell you, if you're watching this video, you probably do not need a tint footprint. Now, even if you are 100% sure that you need a tint footprint, there are even alternatives that are much cheaper that serve the same purpose. And so we're going to get into the why and how in this video. Let's jump in. First, allow me to make my argument for why tint footprints are not necessary in the first place for most people. This might be a bit controversial, but even if you disagree, we could still be friends. To make my argument, we have to first ask ourselves what the purpose of a tint footprint is. And as far as I can tell, they really serve two main functions. Number one is waterproofing, or protecting from water and moisture. Number two is protecting the bottom of your tint from punctures and rips. So let's talk about each of those. So in my view, the first one about waterproofing and protecting from moisture from the ground is essentially redundant because most tint floors that you're going to buy on most tints on the market are going to already be waterproofed. And so having that extra layer of moisture protection, is it really necessary? Not usually. Now, the second purpose is more reasonable, and there are some circumstances in which you actually would want some extra rip protection on the bottom of your tint. However, this is only really necessary if you have a very thin tint floor and or you plan to go camping on really abrasive terrain like sharp rocks or thorns or something of that nature. So that's really only a small subset of people. So most times you're not going to need this extra protection. But if you're not buying this argument so far, let's address the strange tilted sideways tint over here in the background. That is a tint that I've had for over 10 years. I've used it camping and backpacking in a variety of locations and terrains, and I have never, not once, used a footprint with this tint. And as you can tell, it is completely undamaged. There is no punctures or rips in the bottom of the tint, and that is just one example of a long-term tint being used without a footprint where it's completely undamaged. Now, one other thing you might say is I just like having the peace of mind knowing that my tint, which might have cost a few $100s, is not going to get damaged on the bottom. And I can completely understand that. However, let me try to help you get that same peace of mind without having to spend any money. You see, there are tint repair products such as tapes and patches out there that you can buy that will repair polyester, polyethylene, nylon, and other materials, which are the most common materials used in making tint floors, and you can get those for about $6. And so if you look at these as options, you basically have option one, spend $40 to $50 buying a tint footprint, or option two, potentially spend nothing, or in the unlikely event that you do get some tint floor damage, you can spend $6 or so on a tint repair product and fix it yourself. Now, this is the part of the show where you hit the like button. Just do it. It'll make you feel better. Okay. If after all of this you're still not convinced, then just allow me to make my final argument. If you are dead set on 100% I need to get extra protection for the bottom of my tent, then just allow me to persuade you to buy a tarp or a Tyvek sheet instead of a footprint. They serve the same purposes and they're way cheaper. So let's talk about that. For example, I recently bought and reviewed the REI Skyward 4 tint, and if you buy the footprint for that tint, it costs about $45. Or you can buy a blue tarp exactly like this one that you only have to fold on one side. It costs $10, which is less than a quarter of the price of the footprint, and you can just leave that extra money in your pocket. Or you can buy Tyvek sheeting. I know that some people who backpack prefer to buy Tyvek, and that still is less expensive than the footprint, but it is a bit more expensive than this blue tarp material. So if you must have something to put under your tent, then I suggest either buying a blue tarp like this, or perhaps if you're a backpacker and you want the Tyvek sheeting, you can do that as well. Both are cheaper than the footprints, and I think it's just a better deal. So let me know if you disagree in the comments. I'm happy to talk about this, and as I said, we can still be friends even if we disagree. And hit the like button for me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.